Hello and welcome inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 702, The Exodus. Yes, this is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
AKA Negative Camber, and tonight we are going to cover the big decision this week. What is the big decision? Well, first, I need you to do something for me.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's what I need. So we're going to talk about Honda. We're going to talk about Honda, and then we're going to talk about Honda, and then as we get out of the podcast, we're going to be talking about Honda. That's what we're going to do. But before doing that, I have to introduce my guests tonight. The first one you know well. You love her. You know what she does. You know where she's at. It is the lovely, the redoubtable
Grace!
Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You ready to talk about Honda?
Yeah, episode 702 is going to be a real banger, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, sure is. Did I mention it's going to be about Honda?
Not yet.
Okay, good. All right. I'll let you know when we introduce our next guest. So you know him. He's all the way down in Dallas-Fort Worth normally, but now he's not. He's out in Salt Lake City driving fast Fords. And you're thinking, who could that be? Well,
Wrecked from out of the wasteland. He's bad, he's beautiful, he's crazy. It's...
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Charles, the International.
Paul, how you doing?
I'm good. Yes.
Paul, you are not just driving fast Fords. You're driving SUVs, are you not?
Yeah. I'm just doing it. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I was driving the GT500s around Sonoma. Now we're driving SUVs around the hills and valleys of Park City, which is a very beautiful place. So
It is a very
different
beautiful place.
aspect to being a instructor / international person.
Right, all around.
Motorsport guru.
Right.
Yeah, I just got called in the last minute to come out here because obviously this week we're actually then later in the week I'm heading to Charlotte for the IMSA race. So, and then 2 days after we come back from Charlotte and the IMSA race, I'm heading to Petit Le Mans. So it's a jam-packed 2 weeks. Lots of hotel rooms, hopefully with fancy lights like the one before me because I enjoy that.
Nice lamp.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a busy week, but I'm happy to do it. It's good to be working and outside.
That busy.
What's that?
I said Grace and I aren't that busy.
No?
No, I mean, we're busy with our day jobs.
Right. Well,
But
this
it's
is my
not
day
like-
job.
No, I know, but it's not like we're traveling all around the world racing
No.
fast cars. It's just not what we do.
We do the
Right.
working part, just not the leaving the house part.
Right.
Right. Well,
Right.
okay. Sorry. It is quite nice.
Yeah. the outside world,
I'm not grumbling with my
Empty
life.
airports, quick lines. That's all good.
Especially
Yeah, unless you fly on American Airlines and then somehow they I think they just grab people off the street to sit next to you. It's like I've flown Delta and American, and Delta stick hard and fast to the rule. You've got a gap in your seat, and I think Delta is doing a great job. But American, man, they'll
can't help
I think they're
themselves.
cramming more people than there are seats at this point. I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's not much fun.
Right. Well, it doesn't hurt either that you're going. Not only do you get to go outside, but you're going to really great, beautiful places and
That is
beautiful
true.
things too.
That
so.
is very true.
Not too bad.
I'm not grumbling at all. It's good.
No,
It's good
it's
times.
nice.
Sonoma, Petit, yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty nice.
Pretty nice. So anyway, it'll be busy, but it's a good busy for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have some news to talk about.
Is it Honda?
Well, this
What?
just in. Actually, it's not just in. Everybody already knows about this. It's just that we're still going to talk about it because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So I know this is old news. I know everybody shared their opinion. I know everybody has already come up with their opinion, but you haven't heard ours. Not on
right.
this podcast.
There
The
you go.
definitive opinion,
That's right. You
which
haven't
we
heard ours.
have prepared for. I mean, pretty much
Oh.
ever since I got the call to be on this podcast, I've been studying.
Right. I mean, it's been like this incessant, just texting back and forth. Hey, Paul, do you like my pop socket?
Yeah, look at
Checkered
you.
flag. Isn't that nice?
Check a flag, or it could be ska, really, ska music.
Oh, it could be.
I was gonna say it
Right.
looks like the tennis shoes. Why can't I think of the name of them?
Vans.
Vans. Thank you.
Could be two-tone label one. That's why I would choose over the checker flag, because
This is
I
the
always have this vision of people walking around NASCAR and things like that in checkered flag shorts when I see a checkered flag, oddly enough.
Good. I didn't know you didn't like it.
But no, it's good on you.
No, 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 we're
What
about
racing? What NASCAR race are you going to that people are wearing checkered flag
Every single one. Are you kidding me?
All right.
Every single one.
It's been a long time since I've been to a NASCAR race. Things have
Yeah, not
changed.
much on top, but
Well, that hasn't changed. That's for sure.
yeah.
A lot of sun.
That's all right. But, Paul, you always fit right in, though, because you always wear that mesh half shirt.
Yes. Right. That's
bright neon green from the 90s. Yeah.
Exactly. That
Yep.
T-shirt that's a half shirt made out of mesh.
Yeah,
see-through.
with my duck hunting hat.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
You always fit right in.
Right in with, yeah.
You walking around with your bushes, beer, and I don't know. Yeah,
That would leave some crazy sunburn.
yeah, it would.
Your polka dot shirt.
Oh, boy. So
Right.
some big news this week. Of course, Honda has determined that they're not going to continue in Formula One. We're going to try to unpack that from 3 or 4 different angles, something that I often refer to as a parallax. And so we're going to try to do that and dig in a little bit. But first, I want to read you Honda's official statement because Grace loves it when I read.
I do.
And I'm going to read this first. So this will tee us up. Then we'll jump in and we'll start to unpack this a little bit and would love your opinion in the comments section of this podcast as we go along. We've already had some great debates and conversations on our website and on our Facebook page. So appreciate everybody chiming in. There's some great comments there. So here's what Honda said, quote, as the automobile industry undergoes a once in 100-year flood, 100-year period, I live by the Mississippi and the Missouri River. Okay. So it's a
Floods every other day.
yeah, right. All right. As the automobile industry undergoes a once in 100 years period of great transformation, Honda has decided to strive for the, quote, realization of carbon neutrality by 2050, end quote. That's a quote in the quote. This goal will be pursued as part of Honda's environmental initiatives, which is one of the top priorities of Honda as a mobility manufacturer. Toward this end, Honda needs to funnel its corporate resources in research and development into the areas.
Yes, both research and development, not just one or
Both.
the other.
Both, or as Paul would say, both them. So development into the areas of the future power unit and energy technologies, including fuel cell vehicle, FCV, and battery EV or BEV, BEV.
Okay, Bev. It should totally be Bev.
It
Why
should
would
totally
anyone?
be
I'm for
Bev.
Bev. Yeah.
Why call it
Who is
BEV? Bev.
BEV is
I'm in.
delightful.
I'm in.
Bev.
She's awesome. So
Nice lady.
EV BEV technologies, which will be the core of carbon-free technologies. As a part of this move, in April of this year, Honda created a new center called Innovation Research Excellence, or IRE, or as in the English language would be IRE, which is a negative. Feel Grace's ire.
That's right.
Anti-Nico Rosberg.
Right.
Yeah.
He's excited
Yes.
because he's angry.
Yeah, exactly. So it's called the Innovation Research Excellence Power Unit and Energy.
It's the square building on the McLaren campus that used to hold all the thought leaders. Honda
Yes.
bought that out. They just own that square now.
Yeah, that's right.
Rectangle.
So I guess the acronym is I rep you.
Okay.
I rep you, yeah.
I don't, okay.
Better be careful with that.
Yeah. You got, whoa.
This podcast has gone off the rails. We've been doing this for what, like 5 minutes? Whoa.
It was off the rails way before we started the podcast.
Well, that's
You know,
true,
the-
but nobody else knows about the 20 minutes
No.
where we talked about everything else.
They can't know, Grace. Don't bring it
You're
up.
right. Sorry.
They'd think less of us if we
Never
did.
mentioned it.
So Honda will allocate its energy management and fuel technology as well as knowledge amassed through F1 activities to this area of power unit and energy technologies and take initiatives while focusing on the future realization of carbon neutrality. Toward this end, Honda has made the decision to conclude its participation in F1. Not even its formal name, Formula One.
First off, what the hell's wrong with carbon? Aren't we all made of carbon?
We are.
Seriously,
I like carbon.
what's this anti-carbonite?
What's the deal with
Approach.
carbon?
I like carbon. I celebrate its entire catalog.
I think they're on the wrong path. Yeah.
Got
I
it.
feel like as every press release, I realize you're not even done yet, but
No.
already this could have been like What, 2 sentences?
We
A
quit.
little less confusing, perhaps, in 2 sentences. Maybe they should just had all the
Bev.
yeah, Bev, Fire,
FCV.
Simp,
Yeah.
done.
Done.
Funnel.
Just-
Corporate
we quit.
resources.
We're
Check.
tired of it. Shit's too
Neutral.
expensive.
Done.
We're out of here.
We're out.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. Shit's too expensive. We're out. That's all it had to. That's
We're
all
gonna
you
hide
got to
behind
do.
this
One.
cloak of carbon
I know.
neutrality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Uh,
That should be our
Yes.
next slogan. You should put that on a shirt. Parc Fermé. This shit's too expensive. We're out.
Shit's too expensive. We're out. I may put that
Again.
on a shirt.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know if you buy that shirt. I'll make one. Shit's too
I'd
expensive.
buy
We're out. It's like BMW used to call them the ultimate quitting machine.
Right.
And I needed a tagline for Honda. Now I like it because this is twice now they've said shit's too
Mhm.
expensive. We're out.
Yep.
Like it.
Well, they haven't really said that now. We're just reading
No.
between the very large lines.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
In a very Japanese kind of way, that's what they said.
yeah. That's it. So the final paragraph is motorsports activities are in Honda's DNA. Hmm? And
Sometimes.
therefore, a couple times it has been.
Sometimes.
Hey, we're racers when we want to
Mostly.
be.
When the shit ain't expensive.
When it's expensive. That's right. Or, we've got a real.
It's a shit box.
Okay, and therefore Honda will continue to be passionate about taking on challenges and striving to become number one in all categories of racing in which Honda participates.
Except for Formula One, right?
You are the Duke of New York. You ain't number one. So there you go.
Okay.
Except for one class that actually allows for their innovation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
All the other classes they're racing in are very, very tightly
Very tight.
bound by rules.
Right. Right.
Formula One was probably the only place they could actually play and innovate and strive forward with technology. But why would you want to stick around with that?
Well,
shit-
shit's too expensive.
Yeah,
shit's
that's right. It's
expensive,
expensive,
right?
man.
IndyCar, where they say build it like this, build it like this, build it like this. Not as expensive.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I'm
we're
going to
done.
share my thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Grace and Paul are going to share their thoughts. And then we'll have all kinds of thoughts out. But none of that really matters. We want to know what your thoughts are. And you can even offer your thoughts about our thoughts. See how that works?
Just got really meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is meta.
I think my first thought is anybody surprised? No, not really. Honda kind of has always kind of been half in, and they've had more success with Red Bull, but they've had some issues. So I don't know.
I kind of am surprised a little bit, actually.
Okay.
Because the technology wasn't really going to change dramatically with the new rules. I felt like they could have carried that technology forward, and to cut off right when they got somewhere. I mean, think about it. I mean,
True.
they've had it over Ferrari and Renault right now,
Mhm.
and the only one they was Mercedes had it over them. I think they were looking very shiny, and as I said, I mean, obviously, I think it really is the money that they keep having to invest in the sport and the technology, and they have had a radical change, it seems, on how they want to go about their business in the future, and Honda will no longer be a performance-based manufacturer or mobility. They don't even call it a car manufacturer anymore. Mobility, right? Yeah. So.
Right. Just
That's right.
I mean, yeah. Oh, did you get it? Whoa. I'm
Is that
sorry.
better?
Yes. Yay.
So you mean we talked for 20 minutes and my mic wasn't on and none of you noticed?
I
That's
did,
great.
but I was trying to be very polite. I just sent you an instant message in chat during the
Yes.
call to tell you to switch your headset on. But
And I sure
I would
did.
have let it go, but now you brought it up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that.
Wow.
Welcome, Grace.
Oh, thanks. I mean, didn't it sound weird before? I mean, it's not like we just
Well,
started
yeah.
talking.
Yeah, it just sounded a little echoey. And
All right. All
yeah,
right.
now we got to fix.
All right,
because we're
thanks, Tim.
professionals here.
Yeah. And so anyway, I think that was one point, right, of discussion, right? Is sort of,
Yeah.
was this something we saw happening? And
I'm kinda like-
I think that's a good point, Paul. Right? Why now? Right? Wait a couple
Yeah.
years.
I'm kind of with Paul. I will say, Paul, you remember like earlier this year, they were kind of saying that they were going to reassess.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I thought there was some chum in the water, right? I just wasn't
Right.
sure.
But that kind of died down. So
It did. And the Concord agreement got signed. And my assumption is that Red Bull wouldn't have signed that if they didn't know they had an engine program, right? So I'm kind of curious if Red Bull got caught off guard by this, or if they knew it, but they were signing the Concord anyway. So yeah, it's all intriguing.
But if their future is BEV, then why be in Formula One?
Right.
Yeah, that's why they cut it off.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
BEV ain't happening in Formula One. That series already exists.
Yep, that's in Formula E. So this is very difficult.
They should call it Formula BEV. That would be a much better series. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
With Jev. You'd have Jev driving a BEV.
Jev and Bev. I like it.
I'm sorry, I still wouldn't watch it.
No, I wouldn't either. So this is very difficult. As I said a few years ago, when they were struggling in the first season with McLaren and the whole GP2 engine debacle started, right? Everybody, I'm assuming, knows what I was talking about there, right? Okay. So Honda, I said Honda should leave them and join Red Bull, and they did.
Yes, I think so. When somebody calls you a GP2 engine, maybe that's a sign.
Time to leave. Yeah.
Remember, and Grace, you and I talked to, I know Paul and I did, but I was saying this is great because Red Bull would find a way to work with Honda, and then they would have their own manufacturer to take on Mercedes, Renault, and Ferrari. And it was a big move, and Honda were definitely moving in the right direction. Now, Honda says they'll supply the 2021 engine, but after that, Red Bull will have to find another supplier or another alternative. Honda has decided to spend the money on their Road Car Innovation Center. And as I've argued in the past, when people were people are calling me an idiot because that entire notion of
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you that.
No, I know, but Paul, you were justified in doing so, even though I was right all along. So the thing about it is I've been talking about the sport for so long, and Grace and I and you and I have, Paul, for a long time at doing this, and so I'm not a genius. I don't have some sort of divine access to Formula One. But when you watch F1 and you see history repeat itself, and you see these things continuing. And I said at the time that the whole concept, this notion that the road car manufacturers, they were saying back in 2013, F1, Mercedes and everybody was doing this. Ferrari was kicking and screaming going into this. And like, well, no, this is about road car relevance. We have to be sustainable. We have to be road car relevant. And this is all about that because the road car, they're going to be moving to these hybrid technologies and electric. And F1 is really the series that really leads the way. And I said back then that the notion that road car manufacturers need F1 in order to innovate is an insult to just how advanced the tech innovation divisions of these road car makers is these days. And I even argued that the reverse actually might be happening and that the road car division were helping the F1 division with their hybrid tech because they already had it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that this kind of caught me off guard because Red Bull re-upped. And I look at it also, the whole thing about Honda, they come out one day and say, we're done with F1. The next day they come out and Honda North America says, no, we're all in with IndyCar. And that's a twin turbo V6 ICE. And again, I argued a couple years ago that when Ross Brawn was saying that he was going to look at the new engine regulations, what did you and I talk about back then, Paul? We said, hey, or at least I did. I said, they ought to do a twin turbo V6 with KERS giving them the hybrid element. The MGUH is costing a fortune and it's not being on road cars. And so thinking that would help, but just like IndyCar, F1 would have taken that format, they would have made it and innovated it much greater than what IndyCar is willing to invest in it. But now they're not doing that. So the other side of this, Paul, is that Honda in North America, I get it. They're different divisions, and that's a marketing exercise in IndyCar. But surely Honda Global would be interested in a low-cost engine supply for brand impressions on a series that gets 450 million viewers a year and gets all that racetrack cred while they work on their FCV and EV road cars, I would think. if it was more affordable.
Yeah, if it was more affordable, I would think, and unless they just really think it's a negative draw that they're out there racing, burning fuel while they're trying to be the innovator in not burning fuel at all, right? Yeah. But then the IndyCar thing doesn't make any sense whatsoever in that vein. Right. You know, it's either I feel like if you're a manufacturer, everything's worldwide nowadays. You should be all in with a theory or not. Right. But by making that big statement about what they are trying to do and why they're making that decision, but then on the other side of things, not even going down that path at all in other areas doesn't, you know, I call a foul on that. You know?
We're all in on BEV except in North America.
Right. And sports car racing.
Right.
So I don't know. It's, as I said, I think it's got more to do with the costs, et cetera. And I still think the innovation they were finding is really the only place they can truly push to the maximum innovation in the engines. Although, admittedly, Formula One rules are restrictive also on. It's not like they can build a new engine every year either. They've just got to do tiny little things every now and again. But yeah, I do remember and agree that we never did need the MGU-H. I think that's always been a bridge too far for what is affordable and necessary.
I agree. And we've talked about that at length in the past, even 2014, 2015, certainly when Mercedes was literally beating the brains out of everybody on the grid and did it for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And it was like, oh my gosh, guys, this is crazy. You know, this is, it's not even a case of just simply having the better car, but you know, when you're a second and a half faster than everyone else for multiple years, it's a very difficult, you know, situation. But I got to think also, Grace, the thing about Honda North America, as some of our readers have pointed out, look, that's a different budget. It's their marketing budget, totally different division. Honda Global's different division. But I think at the end of the day, we can try to gloss this over all we want. And it's no one here is suggesting that the current hybrid power unit isn't an amazing piece of kit. It is. It's just, it's too damned expensive. It's bankrupt 3 teams, and it put all the the rest of the non-manufacturer teams on life support, and has done so for 6 years. And at some point, you got to think, okay, but maybe Honda North America maybe they're onto something, you know, a twin turbo V6 KERS. It's a hybrid. It sounds better. It's a lot less expensive to make. And it, you know, might produce better racing.
I think they just announced they were delaying the KERS thing for IndyCar for another year. Also.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a shame. But
I think they're in IndyCar mostly for marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of whatever kind of engines the IndyCars are running, they would do that because it's really an exercise in marketing as opposed to innovation.
Yeah. There's not a lot of innovation, right? They're really locked in.
Right.
And stringently. You know, so, and the problem with Formula One is, with all the money and everything you just talked about, is that it's not alluring at all for any other manufacturer to come in.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know, are we just going to keep dropping manufacturers till we're left with one? I don't know.
I thought Volkswagen was coming. I've been told for
they are
years
coming.
that Volkswagen
Damn
is
right,
coming.
they're coming. They're
Audi's
coming. Right around the corner. We've been
Any
talking.
day now, right?
They've shown interest. Alan McDish said they've shown interest in the Formula One series.
That's right. I saw them sniffing around.
Yeah, Audi's coming to Formula One. They've said that for 10 years now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole thing has been a very, very sour exercise in moving Formula One to an engineering series and not an entertainment and a racing series necessarily. It's still racing, but the entertainment value, it's just become so expensive that you have to be a manufacturer to basically to participate.
Right.
And it's one thing to say, okay, look, the manufacturers are making the investment and they're making the engines. Totally get that. But when the series means that you have to be a manufacturer in order to basically win championships or have a shot at it, and when you aren't a manufacturer, you can barely afford to even participate because the engines are so expensive, there's a problem, right?
Right.
Yeah. there also just isn't like random money laying around anymore, right? Like, so where are you getting any sponsorship money if you're not running, with
Right. There's so many suppliers you can lean on to
Yeah,
bribe
right.
you, you know?
Right.
Now, do you guys think, obviously, the Honda engine may go, obviously, it's going to end in 2021. Do you think that Honda would perhaps sell that engine to another manufacturer, or do you think their technology would be so intrinsic, they want to protect their technology that they come up with this engine and they wouldn't want to release it and hand that program over to a different manufacturer, because that could be an easier buy-in for somebody else?
So let's talk about this. So next move for Red Bull, because it's a good segue, Paul. So what does Red Bull do?
Way to go, Paul.
Way to lead us off of the topic into a new one, Paul.
Right.
What I do.
Nicely done. It's like you read the notes or something.
Right.
I took the warning from Todd beforehand.
Right.
Read
not
the
to
notes.
jump ahead.
There's moments in the show when Paul's kind of like, get to the show.
This is the show.
Right. So he's moving it along. All right. So Red Bull's next move. All right. First, Mercedes will be supplying 4 teams and Ferrari will be supplying 3. And the regulations obligate the manufacturer supplying the least amount of teams to supply a team in need. So this leaves Renault, and we know that didn't end well, right?
Hey, Cyril, what's up?
To say the least.
Right. So I'm thinking about that over the weekend. I'm thinking, okay, regardless, it will occur if Red Bull have no other option,
Right.
because the FIA can force that. And with that being said, Cyril and Christian could find a way to move forward and bury the past, because that's what's needed since Red Bull signed the Concord Agreement. Now, keep in mind that Cyril isn't without need himself. He is the sole Renault engine running, and courting Red Bull and, Toro or AlphaTauri is a good idea to have instantly 3 teams running Renault engines at one time. And I would imagine that the Renault CEO might tell Cyril to put a sock in it and get the deal done.
Right.
Yep.
A new manufacturer engineering the sport. It doesn't seem likely due to the ridiculous tech and the expense of the current engine. No one would want to get or could get a competitive hybrid power unit ready in 18 months. I just don't see that happening. And this leaves your point, Paul. The biggest issue is, what would they do going forward? Would Honda, and there's a lot of suggestions I've read online, would they sell their intellectual property and the engine program in the UK to Red Bull, and then allow Red Bull to continue to develop that engine?
Kind of like the Mechachrome era.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
What about another manufacturer, not just Red Bull, though?
I don't know that they would do it for another manufacturer. I guess you could say, well, what about, no, they wouldn't do Aston Martin because they're moving to Merc.
Right. That would, like 2 years ago, that would have been the obvious thing.
Yes.
Aston Martin are looking into developing a program, and they can just buy the Honda program.
Right.
I'm just not sure what manufacturer would even want in at that point, apart from Porsche or somebody. I don't know.
Audi.
I think
Sorry, I keep forgetting they're coming.
in my Volkswagen group joke too soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Put it in the B segment instead of I put in the egg segment instead of waiting for the B segment.
But I mean, there was a time when Mugen had Honda Formula One engine, right? Yeah. And so it's hasn't been. They could someone like that, someone really tied to the Honda brand, be put in charge of that program so they could protect the intellectual property, but still be able to supply a team with that. Because it's a shame, right? It's a shame.
It is.
That everything they went through from the beginning, from GP2 engine, to the laughing stock, to honestly
winning races,
just winning races. I think it's been phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm upset that they are pulling out, because I think the story was great, but the story is unfinished. Yeah,
I totally agree. And that's why it's such a gutting move. I think it would be more realistic to sell that program to Red Bull, who wanted to do that sort of with the tag badged Renault lump that they had, but weren't getting any help. You know what I mean? Right. They were already ready to white label an engine.
Yeah.
with the Tag Heuer or the Tag engine. So maybe they would do that with Honda. I don't know, but Red Bull has to take a step back and say, what's the cost involved for us to continue developing that thing
Right.
until 2025? That's going to be damned expensive because we're not an engine maker, right?
Mhm.
It's not that they couldn't. Of course they could, but if I'm Red Bull, I don't know. I'm almost like, you know what? Look at the progress Renault has made this year with Daniel Rick. And I'm thinking, let them carry the R&D, let them carry the expense, the upgrades, the obligation. We'll be a customer of theirs and wait till the 2025 regulations come out. And
Right.
if it's a less expensive engine, then maybe we go out and woo a Cosworth or somebody that might be interested.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, obviously that Cyril and Red Bull, they didn't have a happy relationship there at the end, but that's immaterial, right? In
It is.
in the big
Right.
world of finances and
Yeah, it's
getting an
Bond,
engine in there.
right.
Are we really going to spend an extra $100 million a year just so we don't have some uncomfortable conversations at the beginning?
No.
Of two
Probably not,
people
right?
out of gazillions
Exactly.
of people, right? Like, just
Right.
don't put those two in a room together; it'll be fine, right?
Right. Yeah, I think money has a way of smoothing over. That's water under the bridge. They
Yeah.
gotta let that go.
Yep.
And
Well,
I would.
I'm just looking for the posed photographs of them all, Cyril and Christian.
Yeah, like
Just
Mark
shrugging.
Webber, right?
Just
yeah,
hey,
like the
woo.
Weber Seb one. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
right,
good.
right.
What? What's the problem?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Multi what? I don't know.
right.
Always. Somebody's gonna Photoshop that, right? Their heads on those bodies,
Yeah,
just so
that
that
would
it
be
looks
good.
like the two of them are like, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Probably
So-
be ready as soon as someone hears this podcast.
Yeah.
It'll be
They'll
on
be right
Twitter
on it.
and yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know. For Red Bull, if I'm Red Bull, I'm thinking I want to be in Formula One for my obligation with the Concord agreement. And I'm thinking, you know what? I might just do the Renault thing for a couple of years
Get
until
through
the
that.
new engine regulation comes out and then reassess.
But when is Max's contract ending?
Well, that's the biggest issue right now for Red Bull is Max. And without a firm engine deal, I have to think he's going to start looking at another ride for a car that's going to give him a title. I'm sure he's got probably an exit clause, around this engine issue. I'm sure he does. And everybody's like, well, yeah, but where would he go? Well, he'd go to Mercedes. Absolutely.
Right, so they'd have him in a heartbeat,
Oh,
right?
they'd have him in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. And everybody's like, well, no, they got Lewis.
Botas who, right?
No. No, and they got Lewis. Yeah, I know they have Lewis, but they've had Lewis for a long time. Lewis is on the back side of his career. Max is on the front side. They'd take Max in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what, if I'm Christian, I'm worried about that. So for continuity's sake, is it a better message to go to Max and say, okay, here's the deal, Max. We're going to go ahead and buy Honda's engine operation here in the UK. And they're going to kind of coach us and help us with this engine and kind of develop it. And we hope it's fast, and we hope we get that starting issue figured out. Or was it better to go to Max and say, hey, look how well Renault's doing now with Daniel Rick. It's a for real engine. They haven't had any of the reliability issues that we've had. And you know what? It's safe to get back in the water again.
Mm-hmm.
And we think, married with Adrian's chassis, I think that Renault will be competitive next year.
Yeah, no, the Renault has come on pretty well. I think things are evening out just a wee bit. So I don't know. I think they'll do whatever Max wants, honestly. Max, what do you here's two hypothetical scenarios. Which one?
Just asking
you
for a
choose?
friend, right?
Yeah.
Which
The
one
happy
would
bear?
require?
The happy bear or the cute puppy? Which one?
Right.
Which
Which
one?
you want?
Which one of these would keep you at the team?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is nobody's talking about them picking up a Ferrari option at this point.
No one's talking
No.
about it.
It's like, no.
There's no talk of Max going to Ferrari right now.
Nope.
No. And
Carlos is banging his head against the door every
yeah.
time he goes back to his room.
And nobody's saying, well, maybe Ferrari will give Red Bull engines. And Red Bull, I can't imagine they'd want him right now.
Yeah, like Christian Horner, never heard of the guy. You're gonna have to send it back, right? Like he doesn't live here anymore. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's what I did with telemarketers when they'd call.
Right.
They'd call up and say, "Hi, can I speak to Todd?" Say, "Oh no, he passed away during the night." Oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that.
Thanks for checking in on him.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing that up. See ya.
Thanks, jerk. Exactly, right? Yeah.
So
Really mean.
I don't know. Difficult. Look, I think it's a better message to tell Max.
They're the ones calling him
Renault
during
is
dinner.
Yeah.
They don't know when he eats.
Always. Haven't you met Todd? We're always eating. What we do.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's always taco night, as Paul would call it.
Yeah. Hey,
And tonight is taco night.
well, yesterday was Taco Sunday. America official.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I didn't get to have any tacos. Can you
No?
believe that?
No fish taco.
No, I wasn't at home.
Mm.
I was on a jet plane
Mm.
like
You don't
this, trying
you
to
don't
stay
eat-
away from the middle person, chewing on my little.
You don't want those
Kale
fish
biscuit.
tacos, right? You're sticking under your mask and chomping on, right?
You got the guy in the middle seat going,
Yeah,
coughing on you.
And he gets out his tuna sandwich.
Yeah. Oh. All the worst things could happen in his laptop, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh boy. So I think it's a better message anyway to tell Max that Renault hasn't had the reliability issues and stuff that we've had, and I think it's safe to go back. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a very dicey situation from that standpoint from Red Bull. I'm very intrigued to see what Christian and Dr. Helmut Marko do over there.
That's right.
And who knows, this whole not having an engine thing, this just may really finally be the final straw for Alex Albon.
He's gonna walk out that door,
I'm out of
right.
here.
check back a few
engine.
times just to make sure
No
no one's
engine.
trying to grab him.
Yeah.
I'm
This place
leaving,
is shit. I'm out of here.
guys. I'm leaving. Oh,
Yeah, right.
just
Where are you
keeps
again?
eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel
so-
can fee it too.
I'm gonna go now.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Alex Albon, Daniel Kvyat, they've had it. They've had it with this uncertainty. We're
I'm gonna
outta
throw
here.
my gloves.
That's right.
Mhm.
Damn you. Can't tell me if I've got an engine or not. So let's talk about, we've talked about Honda. We've talked about Red Bull. Let's talk about Formula One as a whole.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
So, I don't know,
The
does anybody know
Domenicali's gonna
this?
sort it all out.
yeah, did everybody know this? It's just in.
What?
Stefano Domenicali has. Did we already talk about that?
You should have
Yeah,
talked
last
about it
time, I
last
think.
week.
Did we talk
I think
about
we
it last
did.
week?
I think. Was I on last week?
Yes.
Oh, hell, I don't know. I don't
701,
know.
you were on.
Yeah, you were.
700, I was on.
Yes.
702, we're all
Well
on.
done, by the way. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, I mailed. So Grace and Paul, you'll be getting these in the
Yeah.
mail?
Yeah.
Getting those.
Hey,
Yep.
did you mail that Kobayashi model along with it that you've been storing in your basement for 4 years?
Which the what?
So I can't remember now, and I apologize. Someone sent a Kobayashi models to you.
Wow.
I said, "Oh, give this to Paul," and I never got it. No, you've been storing it, signed by Kamui and everything.
Wow.
Have I?
Yeah, you've been holding it. Yeah, so oh yeah, give it to you next time, Paul. It's like,
No, I don't think that ever showed up, Paul. Dude, I don't get anything.
Might
like
want to
that
check
for ya.
eBay, Paul.
Yeah, I'm over here on eBay. No, I don't.
you know, when it comes to
Kobayashi
models, I don't
anything.
let you
No,
know,
I'll look.
things lie.
I'll look around in my stack of things
Models?
here, yeah. No,
Nope, not here.
Nope.
I'll look at all my. Oh, I don't really have any models, Paul. Weird.
Oh
Very
my
weird.
gosh.
Yeah, I'll look. But you're not bitter or anything, I can
No.
tell.
I don't hold it. I didn't hold
No,
it in my memory
Carrying a
bank. but
grudge.
It's a model. Yeah,
So
I need
F1
another add to my thousands already.
So Stefano, if I'm pronouncing that right, I see everybody else in the paddock calling it Stefano. So apologies, Stefano.
Stefano. I thought it was always Stefano. I never.
That's what it, but you know, that just could be the Yankee in me.
I call him
butchering it.
Steph because
Steph.
we've hung out for a while.
With 2 F's.
Can we call him Dom?
No,
All right.
that's a really bad thing to call somebody in
Is it?
Italy. Yeah, I think. Right?
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm never gonna
Unless
find
you
out.
wanna- unless you want to kiss their ring, I don't
Oh.
think you should call him that.
Yeah.
Steph is good though. Steph, he's pretty cool.
Steph, yeah, he's
Steph.
yeah. You and Steph are like this,
We're like
man.
Yeah.
this. We hung out for at least
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
When
he
you're in
is.
a room.
Yeah, he went, who the hell's this guy?
Paul's out there at Vroom,
Skin.
skiing around. Got the
Whoa,
snow
whoa,
plow
whoa.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah, Ice and Kimi Räikkönen. Yeah.
Just falling on him more likely.
Yeah. So he is Stefano has a choice to make here, folks, but he has to do it with the FIA and Jean Tot's era. All right. So think about that here. It's one thing if let's just say, for sake of argument, Stefano's like, oh, this is shit's too expensive. I'm out of here. Right. So if he says that and says, let's go back to the V8s, that was fun. If he says that, that's fine, but that's not what the FIA and Jean Tot is wanting. So whatever choice he has to make, he's going to be doing it in the penumbra of the FIA and Jean Tot's unyielding dedication to sustainability and mobility and all the efforts that Jean has put in over the last 2 terms. Okay, so that era, though, is coming to an end. So would he make any sort of definitive actions while Jean Tot is there, or would he wait until the new president of the FIA comes around next year and sort of get together and kind of figure this out? I don't know that he has that much time, because I think when you're making engine regulation changes, it takes a long time to figure those out. Yeah, go ahead, Grace.
All right. No, I was just going to say, I think, in a sense, the era of Jean Todt is coming to an end, but I don't think the era of sustainability, mobility, whatever other words go in there that are BEV and electric and, renewables, I don't think that's going away, even if Jean Todt goes away. So I don't think in that sense it's not. I think it is the manufacturers or those who are going to pay for Formula One who are picking those words that become what Jean Todt says, not the other way around.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're both sort of joined in that effort, right? And then that trajectory, right?
Yes.
I think
yes.
Jean Todt very much so, the manufacturers very much so.
Like tomorrow, Jean Todt couldn't go, you know what? This is shit. Here's what we're going to do. We're just burning gas. Bring your tires. We're going to burn them in the infield.
All the cars will be electric. We're going to have so much gas, we don't even know what to do with it. We won't even monitor how much you're using.
That's right. So
we've got to get rid of this stuff.
That's not happening, right? So, although it's like Zoolander, right? When they're at the gas station, right? Like they're just.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Thanks. Thank you for knowing.
Yes,
what
wake me up.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what it would be in the infield with some tire fires, but that's not going to happen, right? Because this is the future of where the industry is going. So
it's the future.
That's right.
It is.
So, so he has this choice to make. It depends on who Jean Tot's replacement is, and what they think about hybrid engines versus entertaining F1, though. So I agree with you, Grayson, that the sense of that concept is not going away. Right. It'll evolve, whether it's FCV, EV, or some other technology. Those technologies and alternative fuels is going to continue to develop in the road car. And does F1 want to be a part of that evolution or not? Right. So that's a conversation that's got to have. Dominicali has said that it is less about what drivers battle each other with and more about the drivers actually battling each other. And this would lead you to believe that he will favor an entertainment value over an engineering value, which is where we've been the last 6 years. If you lose Mercedes, Renault, Ferrari, it would hurt. But if you ended up with 12 privateers running Cosworth, Gibson, or other ICE engines with an amazing sound, you might be okay with that model. And regardless of what you think about hybrid, no one watches F1 to marvel at each race about the thermal dynamics and MGUH. It's just not what they watch.
They're not going to be watching a bunch of Cogsworth either.
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't think that. I don't.
think so.
I don't think anybody cares.
Well, yeah. Okay. So first, I think I'm always concerned with this whole entertainment over engineering comes up, right? Because that's very quickly we become NASCAR, and that's too much entertainment and not enough
Right.
car, right? Like,
right.
so that you can take that too far.
For sure. Yeah. And we've talked about that.
Yeah, and then you'll alienate people forever, which is what's happened. NASCAR cannot allure people back in anymore.
Right.
No, right. And so I think that, I'm a little, I get it. And I think that, right, nobody talks about thermodynamics, but I do think that people who do watch Formula One are more interested in cars in general. I don't know. We've had this discussion all the time, right? Like Steve Matchett exists. This kind of a discussion exists for a reason. And even though I don't necessarily understand all the engineering, it's still fascinating. It's still racing. If I didn't care about cars, why am I watching racing, right? Watch horses or something.
You're right. I mean, there's so many layers to Formula One. It's not just, we're not watching basketball in the last 2 minutes of basketball. Where it's just, it's so many layers that has intrigue to it.
Yeah.
Look at the whole Ferrari thing. I mean, it sucks for Ferrari, but it's an interesting turn of events. That Ferrari were cheating last year, and now they're, severely on their back foot, and all these things would not happen if you're running spec engines.
Yeah. What were they doing last year?
I mean,
cheating.
They were pushing the rules to the limit. Right?
Cheating.
They were innovating, Paul.
I shouldn't call it cheating. I thought it was pretty cool, but anyway, and they got found out. But anyway.
Yes.
But I think
that's called cheating. If you are innovating and you get caught or found out, that is cheating.
When you get caught, it's cheating.
right. It's innovation until then.
Right.
That's the definition of when innovation becomes cheating.
Yeah. Yes. Well, there's a Ferrari technical manual at the bottom of McLaren Lake that ought to show.
But I do think going on your storylines, right? I think that's an interesting thing. Like that really set McLaren back, right? And now part of McLaren's story of where they are now is because of what happened with Spygate. So
the whole story, you could, we talked about that, but the whole downward spiral can be traced to that moment.
Right.
And it continued as a knock-on effect, and because it was happening in slow motion over several years, it was hard to kind of keep connecting those dots. But with the hindsight of being 2020, if you back up, and you can still connect all the way back to that moment.
Yeah.
But I also, there's a little bit of that going on with this hybrid engine. I think you connect these all the way back to 2013, 2012, and moving the sport into this uber engineering thing. I don't know at this point. I'm with you 100%, Grace, about engineering versus and a privateer and non-spec series versus entertainment. But I also don't think that means you can double down on out of reach technology that only a few can afford. I mean, if we want to get serious about pummeling people with the concept of equity, then surely having a series that several teams can participate in would be more in the right direction. But right now it's the three manufacturers and then the other teams on life support, right? And we could argue, well, the new Concord agreement has more equitable distribution of the prize money. We're going to have cost caps come in. All of those elements come into that fold, and that's good. There's some that argue the engine should be in that cost cap, but it's not because it's an uber expensive hybrid. Right. I think perhaps there are those also, Grace, and we've talked about this in the past, that there are some fans out there who are more like Bernie was in the simple fact, and I know Steve Matchett had mentioned this in the past, that F1 is expensive. It just is. And if you can't afford to be the best at the cutting edge, then you shouldn't be an F1. And that's what separates F1 from all the other series. Now, I would argue, though, that that's a notion that was much easier to say in 1995 than it is now.
Or even the early 2000s. I just don't think that kind of money is laying
It can't be open-ended,
Right.
I mean, that's why so many rules in racing in general, not just Formula One, are very constricting purely because of budget constraints.
Right.
Nothing to do with making better racing, like even in, our GT3 stuff, right? You've got this engine model that all the teams have to adhere to with BOP, et cetera. So these engines aren't revved as high as they can. They're not maximized their power output. They're kept at a limit so these engines can last for race after race after race. That's purely budget. It's got nothing to do
Right.
with the racing, and it ramps throughout, and that's why we have spec chassis now. There's no, even in Formula 3 and Formula 4, all these Formula series, which used to have several different manufacturers, are all now spec series, all to do with keeping the budgets under control. So yeah, it's always a factor. I think what would happen is if all Ferrari, Mercedes, and Renault all left, and you brought in Gibson, very, very quickly there would be 3 or 4 other engine builders knocking on the door trying to get into Formula 1, right?
Sure.
So, but the problem is, how do you rip up the pad and just say, okay, we're going to make these engines from now on. You guys can do that or not do it and go away or stay. It's going to take a very oblique point to hit before that decision could ever be made. Even if you still use the innovation, you know, as I say, do away with MGUH, fine, leave all the other stuff, but make it the package constrained to make it affordable for manufacturers or engine builders, individual engine builders, to build a Formula 1 engine. They're more than capable of building an engine that makes that kind of horsepower, I promise you. But the rules that go around to then create that horsepower is where the expense is, not the horsepower in itself.
Sure.
Right?
And do you think, Paul, like you're thinking about IMSA, you know, there was that moment, because that series does have a BOP and because that series is a little more guarded and multi-class, they have to be sensitive to the runaway nature of innovation and what could happen with the amount of manufacturers that are participating in that series. And that could be said of the Le Mans series too.
Right.
But in that series, you know, there was that moment with LMP1s where they had a much higher, you know, a threshold for innovation and investment versus, let's say, the GT cars. But could you see where that could get way out of hand really quickly?
Really quick.
If they didn't lock that down. And in essence, though, do you feel like that's kind of where F1 is now, that they're going to have, and you think that cost cap is the mechanism to keep that from happening? Because anything that they want, they'll put outside of that cost cap. But that's not the case for IMSA, is it?
I mean, there's not a cost cap, right?
No, there's not a cost cap. I'm just saying for IMSA, it's all included, the amount of money that everyone's spending. What is preventing Heart of Racing for spending the money that you're spending on the budget versus Michael Shank Racing?
Right. Well, it's to do with the rules package that is not necessarily a part of what the team comes up with. It's a manufacturer. The manufacturer has to go through the series, and the series approves what you can and cannot use. And to equalize the formula and the differences between one car and the next, and that's where the BOP is. And they lower it down to a threshold where everyone can make their parts last for a decent amount of time. They don't like say, this guy's stretched as far as he can, so everyone kind of work in that threshold. They bring it down.
So the thing that would prevent, not totally, but at some ridiculous level from Chip Ganassi or Michael Shank, you know Michael Shank. So maybe your friend Mike there's a point of diminished returns on his investment.
Yeah, because if you break out, they pull you back anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But there's also a lot of things in the car that go on that are directly fed to IMSA, that they're reading everything, you know, from, you know, our turbo boost level at certain speed is being monitored, right? If we break out of that, then we're deemed illegal, right? So we got to stay within those parameters, and that parameter is set out so that we're not out of whack with the Ferrari car, which is normally aspirated, et cetera, et cetera. So really the series, I think IMSA does a really good job in keeping the manufacturers from hurting themselves, right? And they keep them in this little cage where they can't really break out, and there's no, as you say, diminishing returns. You spend a lot of money to go faster, but then that's really not going to buy you very much at all. Because they're going to pull you back, they'll add weight to you, they'll do this to you, and they'll control. There's no doubt that GT3 engine we have in our car can pump out at least 200 more horsepower. Within the rules, we can't. So.
Right, and I guess to that point, Grace, it's not I mean, we have a cost cap coming.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at, in my mind, Honda does not see Formula One as a true sort of rapid prototyping innovation place to be spending their money
Mm-hmm.
on the current engine format, because they're looking at FCV or BEV, right?
Right.
So this is really money spent on something at a level that doesn't make sense for Honda, when they could spend far less in Honda North America over here in IndyCar, and they could do that and still get all the panache and brand equity and all that, or brand impressions. Okay.
Yeah.
So then go back to Formula One. It doesn't necessarily stand to reason to me then to double down and say, hey, look, the 2025 engine regulations, maybe that's what we need to do is really focus on a new fuel cell vehicle technology, right? So we're going to go from an uber expensive hybrid to even a more expensive fuel cell, meaning that there's no possible way a team like Williams could ever develop anything like that, could probably barely afford to buy a supply of an engine like that. And then we're kind of back into this situation. So I think it's a difficult situation.
It is. And I think this is where the FIA president, or other members there, the guy that's the head of the single seaters,
Pentaveret.
Right.
That guy.
Pentaveret.
Right. This is where they have that discussion, right? Because how you write the rules is what, makes what's important in your series, right? And what makes the series different. These are all things that are within the rulemaking body's control to write rules about or not write rules about. And in that sense, it's no different than any other project. You start with what your goals are. Are your goals cutting costs? Okay, well then that's rule number one. And you think, oh, we should do this. And you go, does that increase our costs? Well, then we can't really do that, right? So you have these guiding principles that help you craft the rules. But I think that, going back to your point about, it's Formula One, it's expensive, people. Yeah, but it's now at a point where you're going to not have anybody, right? So it can be, you can stick your foot in the mud. I don't think that's the saying. But anyway, you can your heels in the mud, right? You can stick your heels in the mud and you can say, tough shit, everybody. It's expensive. Get over it.
Figure it out, yeah.
And you have Ferrari, right? So, there has to be something in between so that you can keep enough teams in there knowing that there's only so many large manufacturers that are interested or that could afford to do something like this and still have something interesting that people are going to come watch.
I feel like, and this is sort of wrapping the discussion up, but I feel like the going forward plan, and I'm interested to hear kind of what both of you think. I was thinking about this, and I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm sure I usually take a lot of haterade for my comments anyway. So
Paul's only one person. It's okay.
Yeah, sorry,
I
man.
know.
I'm not going to do it.
He's the only guy.
I'm backing off right now. I can see I've hurt your feelings.
Right. Well, I'm so touchy about those things.
Kobayashi, come on, man.
Yeah, what the hell's my model?
Right. It looks good over there on my shelf, by the way. It's not good. So I don't know who that sent it, but I don't think they ever did. I did send these to you.
Yay!
It has not arrived yet, but
That's good stuff.
Yes. That was $57 in freight.
Oh.
Thank you.
I sent them, insured them.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
They're priceless to us.
Put more than 700 postcard stamps on it, right?
That's right.
2 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents.
Yeah. Hey, these old stamps, they still good? All right. So I'm thinking, in my mind, I think I've come down to this. And I could be totally wrong, but in my mind, I think F1 got a bit hijacked by the boardroom of Mercedes and Renault, who dragged Ferrari into the hybrid era kicking and screaming. But now that they've joined, they are definitely in lockstep with the other two in their focus because they spend a fortune on the program. Right. So they're all in now. And you have a sport that is being led by a limited group at the manufacturer boardroom level. And this needs to change back to the FIA and F1, in my mind. Manufacturers have come and gone. They've always done that. Yes, it's awesome to have them. And yes, you need them. And I have nothing against that. But I think in 2008, when BMW, Toyota, Honda, there's 3 of them that just vaporized, right? And now we've got Honda out, right? And so they come and go, but the people that have always been there is those privateers. And everybody talks about Red Bull. Oh, don't let the door hit you. Red Bull is Formula One's largest privateer, folks. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this series and in promotion and the Spielberg track and everything. We need that privateer and those strong privateers, you know,
And driver program.
and driver programs.
Yeah.
And that's why I was very worried. I'm not even, you know, I'm the Ferrari fan, but I was very worried about McLaren and their financial stability.
Right.
You know, they have a road car division, yes, but really that racing division is a privateer division, you know, and it's important they stay there. So in my mind, you have a sport that's being led by an individual or a small group of people at the boardroom at the manufacturer. That needs to change. And in my mind, there needs to be customer engines like the Mechachrome, the Mugen Honda, the Cosworth, the Ford DFV days, right? Not because I'm a gray-haired nostalgic,
But in
because,
addition to.
yeah, but because in addition to, but it's because it's what's needed for the sport to survive. Formula E has the EV nailed, and the
Right.
performance still isn't there to be considered at F1, or for even really F1 to consider, you know, buying it and saying, oh, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to change to Formula E. That's not going to happen. So what does F1 do? It's a real conundrum in my mind. And I feel like that's what we're paying for over the last several years of being led, quite frankly, by Mercedes. And I like Mercedes. Don't get me wrong. They're awesome. What they've been able to achieve in 6 years, 7 years is incredible. What Toto Wolff has done is phenomenal. I'm not bashing on them at all. I'm just saying that it's got F1 very locked down.
No, I agree. It'd be great to open it up, you know, once again. But obviously, we went down that road, and that, you know, whatever happened, and it didn't work out with the Cosworth. I felt bad for Cosworth. You know, they got in, you know, with all the best intentions, and they didn't stand a hope in hell of really being able to compete, right? So they definitely have to do. I don't like the idea of slanted rules for a privateer engine manufacturer and a manufacturer engine.
Right.
You know, I don't think, oh, we'll give them an extra liter of
Like a
capacity
handicap,
or whatever.
right.
I don't like that idea, but I think, yeah, definitely these people are very, very smart people.
Right.
They just need to hone in their intellect into maybe something a little less what's the word?
A lot of navel gazing.
Yeah, just looking after their own interests. They need to look at the big picture, and it needs more than one person in the leadership that isn't tied to a manufacturer or a team to make those decisions.
That kind of goes back to those days, Grace. We've talked about that in the past when it was the Bernie and Mac show,
Right.
right? And they'd make those summarily make those decisions until the manufacturers go pound sand.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, in some ways this happens in all sports, right? I don't, while I think it is more delineated perhaps in racing due to the amount of money that any form of racing has in comparison to, you know, baseball or basketball or something like that. And in some ways that's always what happens in a sport. You know, it would be nice to believe that football is, you know, the NFL sits down and says, we're going to write some rules, but they're always influenced by the owners, right? You know, they have a big part of any sort of thing that happens with their investment. And so I think in some ways, this is true of all sports, that the owners in this case, or the manufacturers, have a lot to say about things that maybe we would like them not to have say in, because they need to stay. And so you can't just come down and go, hey, Mercedes, we're doing this now, like it or don't. And if they don't, and then we go, well, okay, I was just testing you. I was just seeing what you want to do. But I think some part of that is what happens. Now, I'm not saying that the place we are now is how kind of like cost, right? Like, of course, F1's expensive, but there comes a point where it's too expensive. Same thing here. Like, there comes a point where manufacturers have too much. So I agree that, right, we've narrowed down it too much, and it needs to come back open again. And
but when is that point, right? You were talking about, Todd, you were talking about Domenicali. It's like, what can he do? I mean, how he can, unless he makes decisions tomorrow, these manufacturers need lead time to know what's going to happen, right? So you can't wait for the next FIA president for them to have a chit chat. That's already too late for when these rules are supposed to change.
Yeah, it takes a long time for any of these things to happen, right?
Right. So whatever is happening right now is in the books and in the short future is kind of not going to change. So we're looking even further, even for Dominicali to have a bigger influence on Formula One, I think.
Right.
I think I understand. I understand Honda's. I understand what they said. I think at the end of the day, that engine was outrageously expensive and wasn't technology that Honda's focused on or working with.
Right.
And they're not about to spend that kind of money on that kind of.
Now, do you think
development.
it's got something to do with the fan base of Formula One? I mean, obviously, Honda, who are Honda going to sell to in the future decades, years to come? And how many of them are actually Formula One fans? And where's the give back with the spending that kind of money to get that much of audience versus developing their
IndyCar.
electric, hydrogen?
Right.
Not IndyCar. It's kind of a side project. We kind of keep a secret.
We don't tell our wife about IndyCar. It's fine.
No. But
She's
like,
just over there.
But kids these days, what are they looking to? Are we getting more and more fans in Formula One, or are they not really concerned with motorsports and who's won on Sunday and I'm going to buy it on Monday versus what kind of ecological impact does this mobility, whatever it is, has? And is that what those people really want?
Right.
Yeah, they could be sitting at home going,
Well, Lottie frickin' God!
They may not be that interested.
So I kind of imagine that's what they exactly do.
I guess on the other side, I don't know. I think being at the bleeding or leading edge of whatever the evolution of this technology is one thing. I also sort of understand the notion that we didn't magically just get cars by banning horses. I understand, but the car development and engine and motor and all of that happened as a better, higher performing alternative to horse and carriage, right? And so that evolution went that path. But now saying, okay, well, we're going to not do fossil fuels, we're going to ban it, so you're just going to have to do it, and magically we're going to have a great product. And I don't think that's a catalyst. I don't think that that's the best way to approach this. But on the flip side of it, we're artificially impacting that innovation curve in some sense by doing that.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't that happen many things in this world at this point?
Yeah,
Artificially
sure.
rules and regulations.
Yeah, sure.
Naturally occur. Yeah.
Yeah. So sure. And maybe, I know the thinking is, well, dang it, we gotta spur him, we gotta kick him in the butt to innovate. And I get all that. But I'm kind of curious, though, with that artificially shortened innovation arc now that's caused by the pressure at both ends. Now, all of a sudden, you've got Formula One in a state of saying, okay, well, we have this hybrid. It's super expensive, and nobody can afford it unless you're a manufacturer. And now we're looking to change the regulations in 2025. And you got to, the logical knock on or kicking the can down the road is, well, all right, we've done the hybrid. Now we got to go what? Full electric, full FCV. What's the next elevation jump or innovation jump? And you can only imagine how expensive that's going to be. And I'm not sure. I'm thinking that those kinds of budgets for that kind of technology on this super quick innovation curve now is untenable in Formula One. I don't think the series is generating the kind of money to be able to participate in that. Right. Because I'm not sure that Honda and other manufacturers are willing to pour the money into it. Now, I could be wrong. Grace, if you're Honda and I said, well, I got your note, Honda, and I realize you're leaving, but here's what I'd like you to consider. Come 2025, we're going to do an FCV. So we'd love to have you back in 2025. Well, is that compelling to you?
Maybe if I actually believed you.
Right.
Right? Because you could go, again, right? We knock on Formula E all the time, but you could take that money now, whether you stay in motorsports or not, and do something with it and innovate. Or I could stay in the sport and hope your promise comes true, which I don't know. Do I believe that? I don't. So I think I'd say, well, when you do that, I'll consider coming back.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go over here now.
Right. Okay.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I don't know. Tough situation. Very tough situation. I kind of feel, if I had to put my finger on it, I kind of feel that this current hybrid unit has had such a negative impact on the sport across a lot of different areas, and all the while being an incredibly awesome engineered piece of kit. There's no doubt about that. It's an awesome piece of gear.
Sure.
But it's had such a negative impact in a lot of different ways. And it would not surprise me to see 2025 say, okay, let's just take a step back here. Let's have like a turbo V6 with a KERS. Let's have a different iteration of a hybrid for the next 4 years or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll be shocked if they come out and say that the 2025 regulations is for an all electric or a FCV, because that technology doesn't exist currently to produce the kinds of performance and the performance level that Formula One runs at.
Right.
It's not here.
Agreed.
But if that's all the manufacturers are interested in, then
Right.
doesn't that
So-
become a moot point?
But
Well.
it's a brilliant point you make, Grace. And at that point, if I'm Stefano, I'd say, well, okay, but maybe this isn't a manufacturer series. Then we'll go with
Right.
independent engine
Yeah,
manufacturers
Gibson
like
and Cosworth and whatever.
Cosworth. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, then you say, Ferrari, you're going to stay?
Oh, it depends.
And they're going to say, can we build a V12?
Yeah. Ferrari would say, well, I do have some V8s back here. You know?
Are you going to keep paying me more than you do everybody else? Then yes, I will
Yes,
stay.
I am in.
Excellent.
I don't know. And I know there's a lot of people saying, no, you're crazy, because the next evolution is not to go back to an ICE. It's to go to full electric or FCV. And I understand that, but I'm saying that F1, I think it's an untenable amount of money and in innovation. And even if Mercedes said, yeah, okay, fine, we'll make an FCV for Formula One and we'll sell it, who as a privateer could afford the money that they would ask for that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, you look back in the history of Formula One, you had Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, but you also had Cooper Climax, you had Cosworth DFVs, you had BRM, you had a lot of private. Yeah, you had a lot of privateer engine builders. Engine builders that were the DNA of Formula One.
Absolutely.
Everyone forgets the DNA of Formula One doesn't actually end, you know, in 1988 or whatever it is. It went way back than that. So I would still be favorable of that, and it would still be Formula One to me. It doesn't have to be a manufacturer engine series wholeheartedly at all. No. I mean, there's a time that Ferrari was the only manufacturer. Right.
I mean, I think that goes back to the entertainment side of it. I think that, right? At the end of the day, if I have to choose between cool tech and great racing, I'm going to pick great racing. Your tech can go somewhere else, right?
Right.
So, and I think but I think Formula One, I think the FIA, it's going to change. Whatever that is 5 years from now, certainly 10 years from now, it's not going to look like this.
Yeah.
What does that change look like? And what is whoever comes in behind John Todt and Stefano? Now I'm really conscientious about that. Domenicali say
Stefano.
Ricciardo, right? Like, you know, what's Domenicali going to do? And like, what is, you know, Liberty Media going to do? So I think that we are it's a sea change in the automotive industry, and that's going to be a sea change in racing.
It's a bit of a crossroads, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we think about it. I would love to know what all of you listening think about it. But let's give out some awards. We typically do that on these podcasts too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give out Post of the Week. Well, talking about what you think, here is from Worthless Opinion. I just thought it was an interesting take on the issue. Worthless Opinion said, to me, the big issue in this is whether there's a place for F1 in the future. Grids are shrinking. No one can seem to make the racing interesting. And if it starts to seem socially irresponsible for manufacturers to be associated with, I don't like Bernie Ecclestone, but he's got a head for figures. Wouldn't be big surprise if he got out at the right time, would it? Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. I was reading a blurb where Bernie was saying that, these engines were bad for Formula One, and he would have done it differently. But it's the bravery of being out of range, right?
Yeah, he was screaming about that at the time, right?
He was for sure. Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, I understand what they're saying here, and I think it's worth considering about this is all sort of culminated. I would think, not to be negative about this, because I think the first real positive first step in moving forward with the right solution is the Concord Agreement getting signed. And to Chase Carey's credit, he got that done. And I think that now that's the foundation that Formula One and Stefano can start to build upon and make the right decisions that they need to make. I think we need to, well, I've said what I think.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Grace's favorite award. It's the Lewis Hamilton Fashion Award.
Lewis Hamilton, there's no stopping him.
Echt in there, Lewis.
Lewis Hamilton, there's no stopping him.
Echt in there, Lewis.
Grace loves that song,
She does.
and she dances around like
I
it's the
know.
first time she ever heard it.
I know.
And every time is the first time I've ever heard that
Yes.
song.
Yeah.
That's right. She loves it.
I
Yes.
do. It's very catchy. Right?
It's very catchy. It's a very catchy tune.
I heard a rumor that Nico Rosberg actually had a hand in writing the lyrics for that song. That could be wrong.
Lewis Hamilton. I hate that guy's guts.
There's no stopping him unless I sell my soul to the devil.
Yes.
That's right. I hope he falls off a bridge. Yeah.
Oh man, Grace, I was flipping through my phone and found an old picture of Lewis Hamilton flying over a Turkish opera by wires.
Yes.
Every
You know,
once
that's
in a while I try to
first thing-
tweet that just to keep that picture out.
Always. Never forget. That is literally never forget.
There. Yeah. You
The
cannot.
greatest thing ever. When they said we were going back to Turkey, that's the first thing I thought of. Everybody else
yeah.
was like, that crazy turn with the 7 apexes in it. No.
Oh, the opera.
The
Let's
opera.
go.
Never
Yes.
forget. That was a pinnacle in our podcast history as well.
Oh, it was. The hell with turn 8. It's
That's-
all about Lewis flying on wires over a Turkish opera, stumbling onto the stage.
in his racing
In
suit,
his racing
right?
suit, and the little wave at everybody, embarrassingly.
Oh, my
He's
gosh.
flying over the top. You go like, hi.
Please, somebody ask him
bad.
about that.
Yeah. Make sure you mention Vodafone, Lewis.
Right.
Please, if somebody listening to this has like Martin Brundle's ear, please, we need this.
Somebody
Bring it
should
up in
bring that up.
practice or something, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be on the main show, but
Yeah,
practice.
on the pre-show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, so Lewis, we're back in Turkey.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah.
Do you
Or
remember
maybe
that?
they could rig up, Ted Kravitz, right? Because if he sits on the other side, like where the fans sit, or if he's up where the spotters sit, they could just rig him down that way, right? Like, why walk down the steps or across the track? We could just why are you down?
It's like, oh, you don't remember Lewis? Let's take a look at the footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to have that like an 8x10 glossy and have him sign that.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
The look,
On his- On his birthday,
man,
just
that
for
would
the
be great.
he
moment.
would kill you.
When he's, because, some amount of it, you're signing, and he looks down and he looks at you. Like, for that moment,
Yeah.
when he looks at you and he's signing that,
That's
Would be
pure
great.
hatred in his
punches
eyes.
you in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
No, he
Yeah.
gets his helper to punch you in the face.
You're right.
Right. If she
Gets
comes
a
over and
box,
hits me.
puts it down, and she stands on that box and
Punches
Yes.
in the face.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's I remember.
Great.
I remember when
Great
that
moment.
happened. I was like,
What the hell?
it's like, what?
What?
This is great. And it wasn't Ron either. It was Lewis's dad that said all that.
Oh, is that
Memory
right?
Serves, yeah. If
and
memory
that's when he
serves correct,
fired his dad as his manager the next
I
day.
think that was the
Yeah.
beginning of the end.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
big. If my dad did that to me,
Yeah.
I'd be out too. What the
Yeah.
Could you
hell?
imagine?
Oh my gosh.
You're
yeah.
supposed to have my back after,
Yeah.
25 years or whatever. And this is how you do me? I don't think so.
Yeah,
buddy.
I could be wrong, but if memory serves correctly, I think I remember McLaren actually distancing themselves from that a little bit. But
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Funny.
It seems like something Ron would distance himself because it's not very Ron.
No.
You know? So
Oh, my
anyway, I thought that was
goodness.
funny. So anyway, our fashion award winner goes to, and for those of you that watch this podcast, I'm gonna share my screen with you. It goes to this young man right here, Christian Carroll. Christian has a brand new face mask. Tell us about it, Grace.
It's black.
And it has
has
McLaren.
McLaren on it. Yes.
Yay.
That's
So
awesome.
no, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
I don't have that skill. I have to buy my masks, but so that's pretty cool. Right on.
That's great. I love
What a
it.
McLaren
Christian.
mask. So
Yeah,
yeah, nice.
that's a
nice
great.
to know.
And you can order them straight through the Parc Fermé website for just $19.99.
Yes, get your
And-
McLaren face mask by christiancarroll.com.
And if you order now, you get a free tube of Flex Seal.
Right. But wait, there's more.
Call right now, and my pillow.
Flex
will
tape
give
can
you-
also be used as a mask.
Yes, that's right.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Seal.
That's exactly.
I'm surprised he hasn't added that to his commercial. Actually,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
make a face shield.
Yeah, face shield.
Oh, the face shields. I love the face shields.
Yeah, the Toto
That'd be
Wolff,
good.
Andy Reid
Completely
face
open
shield.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you're supposed to still wear a mask even with the face shield.
I
But, you know,
know.
whatever, it's fine. The germs fall to the ground. They fall to the ground. It's Fauci, what does he know? Whatever. They
The
fall to
Fouch.
It's droplets. It just rains straight down.
straight down.
It's the Fouch. Hi, Self.
I love it.
Oh boy. All right.
Yep.
So the final award.
Ooh, there's one more.
Always.
See, Grace grooves to this one too, Paul.
This feels a little slower, a little cooler.
That's right. So this one is the what do we name this? We ended up naming it the Gunther Steiner Bravado Award, did we
I
not?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't F smash my award. Yeah, that's it.
Now, I'm going to tell on myself here. I don't follow world karting. All right.
Or sim racing.
Or sim racing. I just don't. I just don't. And I
You
feel
know,
bad about that.
It's March all over again.
Sim racing.
Way to go, Paul.
Don't get me going. Do not get me going.
These last 6 months, gone.
No
Mark.
more wire hangers.
That's okay.
So I don't even know there was a global world galactic karting championship.
I don't know. Until I saw this
What
on
the
Twitter.
hell is going on with this dude named Luca Corberi?
He's a very angry young man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was that other cat, the American kid that punted everybody, Paul?
The American kid?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Ferrucci?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was bad enough, but this guy takes the cake.
Yep.
I mean, I would like to tell you and say that I've given the Bravado Award to Caberry because I've been following this series, for decades
It's
now.
only
And
a
I've
matter
never
of
seen anything so
time.
damned outrageous.
He's a true talent. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but I don't know. All I saw was just these clips on social media. I don't know
Yeah.
the backstory. Maybe the other cat, stole his girlfriend. I don't know what the backstory is.
You don't see Hyde Harold Frenson out there throwing shit at Michael Schumacher, though.
No, you don't, So I don't know what happened, but even this guy and his dad starting beating up on this guy. And whatever the other driver did, for crying out loud, it must have been a big deal.
Mhm.
I mean, he must have pooped in his Cheerios or something. It was bad. So this guy standing on the side of the track, maybe he got punted by the guy, picks up a piece of bodywork, waits for the carter to come back around, and he's going through, throws this front wing at the guy in a cart.
I think he misses and hits somebody
He
else.
misses. Yeah, he missed. And then in the paddock, they get in a full bore fist fight, and the dad gets involved, and everybody's beating him up. And the brilliant thing is, Paul, even it's bad when Jensen Button weighs in on the thing, right? JB's pretty mild-mannered guy, but JB's like, okay, that's bullshit. This guy.
Yeah. There you go.
So
Felipe Massa was there. He was like,
well, Massa, he's no one to be
started
trifled
crying over the whole thing.
This makes me sad.
Made him very sad and emotional.
Very sad. Very sad. So, well, Felipe is no one to be trifled with, Paul.
That's right.
So he was going to get to the bottom of this. Everybody was going to get to the bottom of this. And everybody was like, what? Everybody was exactly like I was when I saw it.
What the hell?
I was like, what is going on?
Right.
But the bravado comes from this guy having a full-blown come apart, right? Throws this front wing, punches this guy out, gets his dad to beat the guy up for him, and then marches off and has the temerity to turn around and tell everyone around the world, that's it. I want you to cancel my FIA super license. I'm never racing again. It was like, yeah, no shit, dude.
No, right.
That was never in question at this point, I mean,
We all agree.
Adrian Sutil shivved a guy and still could have raced you.
Pastor Maldonado was like, you're
Yes.
out of here.
You're totally gone.
That's strange. I wonder what's
Yeah.
causing all the
It's
accidents.
bizarre.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's one thing to go light a fire.
Like a
burn
spinal.
the house
It was
and
like a
say-
Spinal Tap press release. There's the guy with the
was, yeah.
dog in the back of the room, and he's standing there announcing his retirement from racing. Yeah, I'd just like to announce it was a terrible day. I really apologize, and I decided to retire from motorsports forever.
Right.
And everyone's like,
I'm surprised this guy, his name isn't Paul Tracy.
"Oh,
Exactly. He's a bit of a fighter, that guy. He
Yeah.
was.
What
I
is
don't know
this,
what
Mike?"
happened.
Yeah,
Now,
No
probably
idea.
not so much.
It's inexcusable, Paul. Inexcusable behavior.
inexcusable.
You can't throw shit at people like that.
No.
That's like the.
No, I'm sure it's not the first or last time it's ever going to happen at a karting event. I mean, there's
Sure.
it's kind of like kids anything. Well, he wasn't a kid, right?
No.
But his dad got involved anyway, right?
Yeah.
But these sometimes things get pretty head up, but that was inexcusable. But yes, you're right. The bravado was definitely his retirement from motorsport
Yes.
when no one actually knew he was actually in the sport altogether. But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah, I didn't know you were racing to begin with,
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
let alone that you're quitting. Whatever.
Okay.
What do I know?
Don't let the door hit ya.
I didn't know you were alive. B, I didn't know you were a racer. C, I didn't know there was a karting world championship
Right.
that I was following that closely. And D, yeah, you're not in it, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't even noticed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but the karting stuff is massive.
It is huge.
And
Oh,
there's
no
a
doubt.
lot of money spent on it. And
I just don't follow it. Yeah, but
I know
it
you
is
don't
huge.
follow it, but we don't want to belittle the World Karting Championship.
no,
but
It's not.
we
It's
can't.
not sim racing,
It's not as big as sim racing. No,
I would
But-
watch World Karting any day.
absolutely.
Over sim racing.
Karting is tremendous.
Yes.
It's a
It is
tremendous
awesome.
sport. But
It's awesome.
what this guy did brought it down to like a fist
Ferrucci
fight in an alley.
I mean-
Ferrucci level or Dan Ticknam level.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that now that ESPN carries Formula One here in the United States, it's nice because now I don't have to worry when the Chiron shows Formula One oh shit, now what because it's always somebody was in Spankgate or somebody had some crash or
It's actually legitimate news.
right. And so then I just knew the next day at work somebody'd go, don't you watch that Formula One stuff so that's not ever what you want from a sport. Is that what everybody knows is something like this that isn't 990,000 days out of the year what happens. It's just this one thing, and that's what everybody sees. And so it doesn't help the sport, but like I said, I am glad now that Formula One, I don't have to sweat it as much. They actually just show Lewis Hamilton won. Oh, how novel, right? Oh, right. I watched the race. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Lewis
Well, at least
Hamilton
now
won.
we can cross. What was his name? Calabari. What was
Yeah,
his name?
Or
off
Barry.
the list.
Cross him off the list of the next in line to drive the Haas car. So at least
That's right.
he's out.
Next to replace Kimmy, he's out.
He's out.
Right.
That's
He's
right.
on the short list to never drive again.
We're short. We're
Yeah.
short. He took himself off that list, though, so,
That's what happens when you call Lee Harvey on you.
Mhm.
You know, it's time to quit. I just thought it was like, that's it. I'm done. I want the FIA to cancel my super license. I'm not racing. It's like,
Meanwhile, they're like in the middle of tearing it, like, oh, we were supposed to wait?
Right.
Sorry, get the tape.
this is sort of weird that you would say, I mean, if you were really serious, that's it. I'm done racing. I'm not racing.
Yeah.
But to point out, I want the FIA to tear up my super license. That's because they were, dude.
Yeah.
So
In the
anyway,
paper shredder.
yeah, that was pretty funny. Anyway, it's funny, not funny, Paul.
Funny, not funny.
It's
Yeah,
funny,
but
not
cutting
funny.
is great.
It is awesome. My buddy Jack does that for real out in Vegas, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's great.
It
And
is
I've
fantastic.
I've carted with you, and you left me for dead in a ditch. I don't even know what
Sorry,
happened
no.
to you. I don't even. You're just like gone.
Yep, I was cheating. I got that Ferrari. Yeah.
Innovation.
Innovation. I was innovating.
You were
All over the
innovating, all right.
place.
Yeah, all over
Yeah.
the place around outside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway.
All right. Well, that does
Anyway.
it for this podcast. That's what we think about Honda. Let us know what you think about
Right.
Honda. And, remember what Ross Braun always says.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
That's right.
Boy, Ross Braun, your voice has really dropped.
Sure has.
Or gotten really high, I guess,
It's been
right?
a tough
Like,
year. It's been
Yeah.
a tough year.
That's what happens when you write books with Adam Parr.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
you get neutered. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
Hey,
All right. So
All right.
be sure to check out, go and share your opinions. Let us know what you think about the Honda situation at theparkferme.com. Just do it with decorum and civility. A huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't and would not do this podcast without you. So no pressure, but I'm just saying that's the reality of it. And for all of you that are not Patreon supporters, please find a Patreon supporter and pat them on the back and give them a kudos, because it is because of them that you have this podcast. So huge kudos to Patreon supporters. Big thank you to Skip Williams and all the fine folks over at Kingsbridge BCP.
For sure.
Yep.
I appreciate all that Skip does. He's an awesome guy. And I'm thinking, Paul, I'm thinking you're taking the fight to Skip this year in fantasy.
I'm going to have to, I've got a bunch of Hail Marys in my pocket, and that's all I'm throwing out at this point.
I can see you bubbling.
Come on,
up.
Lance Stroll, you can do it.
You're not the Bodas here. I think you're gonna.
I'm on the rise. I'm like
You're
a
on the
phoenix
rise.
Phoenix from the fire. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So watch out, Skip. He's
Here we
coming,
go.
and
You're the
hell's coming with him.
That is my only goal right now, is to beat Skip, because
I know. Well,
he
he's
just throws it out there in front of everybody.
That's right.
You know.
Skip
Hey,
is the
by the
marker.
way, let's give you the Charlesley update. Ooh,
Ooh.
bad.
Yeah.
You're the phoenix rising from the ashes of your torn up super license.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Skip is the marker. We're all gunning for him.
Mm.
He's good people. So anyway, Grace, Paul, thanks for coming on and unpacking the Honda situation.
Yes.
Sure.
It's great. Paul, you be
complicated.
safe out there.
Try.
Drive around those fast SUVs. Are you the one driving, or are customers driving?
Our customers are driving. I'm just telling them how to
But
do
you're
it.
not in the car with them.
Oh, hell no.
Okay, good.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah,
Scary.
that is scary.
Yeah, watch out for the person that sits in the middle seat.
And watch
Yes,
out for the
that's
person
more
in the middle
scary than
seat.
anything.
Yeah, I know.
I'll ride around in a Ferrari around a racetrack, but people in the middle seat,
Nope.
very scary.
No, it's
Yeah.
very scary. All right. Well, until next week, when we come back and we do it all over again, I think we'll be talking about a race, which is good. We'll be back to do it all over again. This is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camera, saying so long.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.